right. I got Shanna Pearson on the show today. She's the founder and director of Expert ADHD Coaching. This is the world's largest one-on-one ADHD coaching company, and they've successfully administered 500,000 coaching sessions. I don't know how you did that, Shanna, for tens and thousands of clients. They've worked with companies like Google, Apple, Yale, the School of Medicine, Disney, Meta, SpaceX, and much more. And also the author of the book, Invisible ADHD, Proven Mood and Life Management for Smart Yet Scattered Women. Shana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's really good to be here, Joel. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Excited to have you. I wanted to just jump into things right away. Like, how did you first, before we even go anywhere, like what is kind of your journey into the ADHD world that made you feel like, you know what, I'm going to launch a coaching business because people need this. And now I'm going to write a book so people can really understand it even better.
Well, like most things in my life, everything was an accident.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to start a business. I've never done anything involving business before in my life. It was what started it was really, I had been diagnosed quite late in life. At that time, it was like it was considered old to be diagnosed with ADHD. Now, thank goodness, women are being diagnosed much more often. In the middle of their life, but it was just really. I had been designing and creating a coaching program completely different for the government in Canada. It was a health and wellness coaching program, and I didn't know anything really about health or wellness, but I did know about how to get people into action. And at the same time, my life was a complete and total disaster in every category. It's like, how you're a coach, right? So how in coaching they have the wheel of, all of the, the relationships and the professional and personal and health. And it was just all over the place in a terrible spot. And something, happened and I had to go figure out what was going on. And that's when I was diagnosed with ADHD, which I was first misdiagnosed actually with depression, but that's a different conversation and question maybe later.
Yeah.
But the diagnosis for me, it was pretty earth shattering and made a lot of sense.
How old were you when you got diagnosed? Just out of curiosity.
In my 30s, I was 32, and I wish like anyone who's getting diagnosed as a kid, just be so grateful. If you have a kid that's getting diagnosed, like just be grateful that they're getting diagnosed at a young age so they know what's going on. But the thing is basically I had been designing this coaching program in a totally different arena, and I was diagnosed, and I started learning everything under the sun about ADHD and also everything about myself and what would work for me and what does already work for me and what doesn't work, which is I think huge. So I just designed some systems for myself. And after a few months, I noticed that they were really working. And slowly people start, like my friends were also just as scattered as I was. And I just started helping them, and it was working. Whatever I was doing was working. So I started really, I put like signs up in Starbucks, like ADHD help, coaching, or I didn't even know what to call it, but that's how and I just slowly, I got one client and then 2 clients. And then, and it was just like this job that I was doing that was coaching in the health and wellness arena gave me the confidence to know that I know how to help people get results. But I didn't know, I didn't know anything other than that. So I was getting results in my own life, in my friend's life. And then I started doing it outside of that. And whatever I was doing was working. And then it just started growing accidentally. I wasn't.
Next thing you know, you've helped over 500,000 people.
For this to happen.
Yeah, 500,000 people now have been helped by you. You just
500,000 sessions. Yeah, sessions, not clients, but almost 500,000 coaching sessions that I've been managing. Yeah, which is a lot. Over like tens of thousands of clients.
That's a lot of reps, right? That's what I mean. That's a lot of reps, and that's really cool.
It's insane, and I feel like at this point, there's truly nothing I haven't heard. And it's also amazing. And I think it would be good for people to know, like ADHD is very multifaceted, and it shows up quite differently for everyone. So, if if you have a child who has ADHD, that means you understand, or you might not actually yet, but you will understand that particular individual. But it doesn't mean you understand everything about ADHD, which which I think is why, like, a lot of people who go into helping people with ADHD do so based on their own personal life experience. It's like, well, I know myself and I know my own ADHD, so now I can help all of these other people. And I feel like there's a lot of knowledge that has to go into helping everyone because we're all
Yeah.
so different, so different. And yeah, so the book also was kind of an accident. They came to me. I did not intend to write a book. I didn't do that. Let's write a book and sell it to a publisher and hope somebody buys it. It wasn't that. They wanted me to write this book, so I did. I
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Wow. I wanted to ask you, because you say that up to 75% of women with ADHD are undiagnosed. You were one of them. Why do you think women specifically are, falling through the cracks? And like, what are some of the signs that are absolutely being completely missed?
So I feel like I really believe this is true. Number one, have you ever yourself, or have you ever known anyone who's gone to their doctor and asked for a diagnosis for like any kind of mental health, anything? Like, if you do you know anyone that's done that?
I can tell you, my brother in his early 20s developed chronic fatigue, and the doctor spent 10 minutes with him, asked him 10 questions, and said, "You're depressed. See you later. Here's some meds," and he walked away. And then I
Okay.
remember my brother calling me that day, and he said, "Joel, I'm not depressed. Something's wrong with my body physically. I can't
Wow.
tell you what it is, but something is wrong. I don't need these meds. I need something else." So I
I
can,
just got goosebumps when you said that. I really did. That's
yeah. So
that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, I've never had it me personally, but I hear that from a lot of clients too, that one of the big things too is, when I'm spending time with folks, it's like we're talking for 60 minutes and they're always like, "This has been so great." Just this alone, because like you're actually listening to me. And it's like, yeah, I want to understand your situation. I don't even know if I can help you. I actually I'm curious, right? And doctors and the way insurance, everything's set up, they just don't have the time. It's literally 10 minutes and it's a revolving door. And so
It totally is. They have no time. They see like 50 people a day. They have like 10 minutes per person. But with a diagnosis, what what likely, I mean, partially what may have happened with your brother, but I know it happens with ADHD diagnoses in a doctor's office, and also with depression and anxiety, because those are the two things that women with ADHD get misdiagnosed with the most.
I
A
bet.
woman with ADHD will almost every woman in their 40s or 50s was that I've spoken to was told at some point that it's probably anxiety or depression before they realized that they had ADHD. And so the tests that they give you in the doctor's offices, they're all subjective. You have to answer them yourself. So I'm going to the doctor because I'm not feeling good. I feel like my life is falling apart. I feel like crap every single day of my life. My things are harder for me than they are for everyone else around me. I have a hard time with my relationships. I can't keep a job. I'm losing everything. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I feel, and I'm going to the doctor. They're giving me this test that I have to answer. So my answers are going to align very much so with a person who's depressed. And that's what happens because I don't feel good. I feel hopeless. I don't necessarily want to get out of bed. All of those same questions, not all of them, but a lot of them will be answered. It's like it looks like you're depressed. Or if you're a person who has ADHD and you're constantly, your mind will not stop and you're always going to the worst case scenario, which is extremely common for people with ADHD because it's stimulating, and you're in the what ifs nonstop and it's never a good what if, you'll be diagnosed with anxiety.
Yep.
And that's what's going to happen. And then you'll be given a prescription.
And
And
that's
you'll
the
be
end of the story right
and that's
there.
it. And so now
Yeah.
you've got this prescription in hand and you're going to fill it and you'll start it and it's not going to work for you because you don't have anxiety, or maybe you do, but you also have ADHD. Maybe you don't have
Yeah.
depression at all and you only have ADHD, but if you have both, it's going to help. The antidepressant will help your depression, but not your
Yeah.
ADHD.
By the way, okay, that makes total sense. By the way, I should have asked you in the beginning, how would you even describe or define ADHD? Because it's been so broad. It's so broad now. Everybody, now it's like almost a running joke. And I know you work with a lot of people in Silicon
Yes.
Valley, but it's like every one of us just says, yeah, I have ADHD. Like I just, cause we're all, but a lot of those people are some of the most successful people in the world because their brain is always going, right? So yeah, how would you even describe it or define it now? What's like the definition?
I think that's an amazing question. And I first want to say that the fact that everyone says that they have ADHD, it's great for business,
Yeah.
but it's not good. It's just not good because it minimizes ADHD. And a lot of people who are like joke around like, "Oh my god, I feel so ADHD today." I mean, I get it and I understand what they're thinking, but the fact is it's not just about, being overwhelmed and forgetful and like chaotic. ADHD is a lifelong condition. And that's like the first thing that really needs to land. When you have ADHD, you've had it forever. There's no time in your life where you haven't been this way. And so a lot of people who are being diagnosed later in life, it's because their symptoms get worse. But it's never that they never had the symptoms, So
Mhm.
ADHD, if I had to come up with like a super quick, how do you know what is it? It looks different for everyone, which is what I was expressing earlier. But the one thing that all of us have in common is that we are perpetually nonstop overwhelmed. And you're just constantly living in that deluge of everythingness, drowning in it. And that's your life. That's your reality. And so how
Sure.
we and if you think about what ADHD is, which is like, you're disorganized, you can't manage your time, you have a hard time managing your emotions. A lot of that is a result of being perpetually incredibly overwhelmed.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is I'm listening to you talk. The destruction there too is if I just pass it off casually, that's just my ADHD. You actually dismiss it, and because you
Yeah,
dismiss it as it's just a thing, you actually never get clarity on what's driving it, and because you just easily deflect that it's this ADHD thing, but that's really nebulous. So there's no investigation to actually how to get better to actually
exactly.
prevent it. It's like, oh yeah, it's
Right.
just ADHD, and that can be catastrophic. So
It really could be. A lot of people are self-medicating and, to help them not even knowing that they even have ADHD, but just to help them feel a little bit more grounded or more connected to themselves. They do other things that may not be good for them in the long run, likely are not good for them in the long run. It it takes away a lot of the basically just claiming that you have ADHD and, even whether you take medication or not and just like brushing it off to that, um, you're not gonna move forward in the way that you want to move forward because you're not gonna know what you need to do.
is there a rubric or something people can use at your website or in the book or anything that they can use to actually say, okay, I think this is valid what you're saying. I think I might have it, but I do want to have some discernment and see if this is what's going on with me. Is there a way that you've kind of figured out after
Oh,
doing
there's
500?
one there's one way, and
Yeah.
I'm a huge advocate for this. You have to go to a real doctor. You can't have your friends tell you, you can't have your spouse tell you, you certainly can't have your, parents tell you have ADHD. Like, what are you? Some ADHD kid, which I've heard so many times.
Yeah.
Just you have to go to a doctor and the doctor does not give you those little like 10 question subjective, like let's see how you feel today. It's a doctor who's going to spend at least 3 hours with you giving you a very in-depth diagnosis. And that diagnosis should always include your past. They should be asking you about your past because that's how you're going to know if it's ADHD or if it's just how you're feeling today or this
Mhm.
month or during COVID, right? It was like everyone became like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, well, wait a minute, did this just start this year? Or yeah, so
Yep.
it really is a lifelong thing. So my doctor wanted to see, well, after the big misdiagnosis, which was which was horrible, my doctor wanted to see all of my report cards, which my mom happened to have kept, which blew me
Sounds like my
away.
mom. Yeah.
But does your mom have your report
I think
cards?
I bet you she does.
See, that's real.
She saves everything. Yeah.
Save your kids' report cards. You never know. No, but I had them, and that was so helpful because I certainly didn't know what my kindergarten teachers were saying about me. I would
Yeah.
never be able to know that, but
Yeah.
when I looked at it, it was like it was like all the same things,
Mhm.
daydreaming, just like silent, lost, doesn't know what's going on, those kind of things that just show that I was not present in any
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. This is great. Talk to me about catastrophic thinking, because I thought this was interesting. You said that the ADHD brain is actually wired for catastrophic thinking. Why is it always on this edge, I guess? And is there a way to actually break that pattern?
Yeah. It's natural to go towards that way of thinking because when you have ADHD, your brain seeks stimulus. It just does, just to feel balanced. It's like, we talk about the dopamine hit, right?
Mhm.
We need a little bit more dopamine. We need a little bit more of these neurotransmitters that we don't have quite enough of in order just to have this, like, I don't know, this feeling of homeostasis.
Mhm.
So our brain seeks stimulus. And one of the easiest ways for our brain to do that, even though it makes us miserable, is with catastrophic thinking. It just naturally goes there because it's just like it's dopamine. Boom, creation. And it's just like it keeps you on edge and it keeps your brain engaged and your brain wants to be engaged. So this is just like this constant wake up. Um
Wow.
it sucks. And that is on no, it is one of the biggest reasons why ADHD sucks because you can't escape your thoughts. And if you have a brain that needs to go towards, the worst type of possible scenarios all the time, or do things in a way that makes things very stressful and very chaotic, you have to live with that brain.
Yeah.
It's 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 awful. It's like it's awful, and it doesn't make people happy, and so obviously, and it doesn't even make us effective.
Yeah.
And then we do things to try to escape that, the catastrophic thinking. But at the end of the day, it's because our brain wants to be engaged, and that's very engaging. It's like a really high intensity Netflix drama.
Yeah, that's so interesting because the brain is a prediction machine. It's always looking to predict and calculate, anyways, what the future is. But for some of us, it sounds like it's just on steroids. It's just revved up.
Yeah, it's like 100 times
Yeah.
more, and it's always the negative. It's like the negative first. I'd say like probably a third of our clients are like perpetual catastrophic thinkers. They can't get out of it. Nothing will ever work for them,
Yeah.
even though they come to coaching. Like, so thank God, we can prove them wrong, but it could take a year to turn them around with proof of what they've actually done in terms of like their progress, that something can work for them, but they just can't. It's so hard for them to get out of that.
Mm.
It's so hard for them to, because it's also a habit. Catastrophic thinking, once you've reached, your 40s or 50s, and
Yep.
that's how you think, it becomes a habitual way of being. And so even when you're doing all of the things you need to do, whether it's medication or lifestyle or just all of the tools to manage, mindfulness, whatever it is you're doing, it is really, really hard to get out of it. But you can. It's just difficult. It's work.
Yeah. How does this tie in? Because I know this I thought was really interesting, the to-do list. And that you were saying that I would think a to-do list would help someone with ADHD, like get their ideas on paper and then be able to stick to that. Okay, good. Like I'm clear, I have clarity, I know where I'm going. But you say that actually makes it worse. Like, why does this type of productivity backfire?
It depends on your to-do list. Like I'd probably like 95% of the people who come to us have these to-do lists that are like over 100 items long. You can't, like, you're gonna look at this list and be like, all you're gonna want to do is like jump on the next game or go watch TV or get out of the house or like get out of your office. Just you can't look at these. A person who is perpetually in overwhelm. So there's just like nonstop, 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 nonstop. Overwhelm, you're drowning, you're sinking. Imagine you're in quicksand and you can't get out of it. And now you're looking at this, and there's no rope, there's just more quicksand. And that's what the
Mhm.
to-do list is with like the really long to-do list, which is why I always talk about keeping it to 3.
Gotcha.
Just keep your to-do list to 3. I don't care if you have 500 things on your list. Just
Yeah.
write down 3 on a separate piece of paper and only look at that.
Why and I didn't even think of this. Why do you see that ADHD, why do you think it's actually affecting more women than men? What's the reasoning behind that?
It doesn't affect more women than men. It's actually 50-50.
Okay.
And it used to be that, I mean, when I first started this work, it was 3 times the 3 times the amount of men were being diagnosed with ADHD than women. And that's a huge difference. We're starting to even out at this point, starting to. But women are still being diagnosed with anxiety and depression when they actually have ADHD. So that
Wow.
is definitely still happening.
Yeah.
But at this point, we're starting to even out, but it's not more prevalent in women. It shows up
Okay.
very differently in women, very
Gotcha. Because
differently.
that's what the book's more geared for women. That's why I was just curious, but it has nothing to do with the percentages. It's just
No,
that's
not at all. They asked me to write a book for women. The majority of our clients are men. We
yeah.
work with men
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
women,
Yeah.
right? We work with both, but they wanted the book for women, so we wrote it for women. Yeah, so but honestly, a lot of the tools in this book are definitely tools that we use in our coaching for
Universal, right? We were talking.
everyone.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But part of the in a little bit of the book, you talk about hormones though. And so I'm wondering how do hormonal shifts in women, their biology, how does that tie in with ADHD or even, you know,
Really simply, really simply, estrogen. When estrogen is lower, dopamine is lower. So, when like women go through monthly cycles and what that is like, it's like their estrogen levels change. And when they're high, you're just to put this in total layman's terms, your ADHD feels better. And when your estrogen is low, your ADHD feels worse. Because I mean, think about it, a lot of the we need more dopamine. And now we have this, now we have, hormones and estrogen lowering our dopamine even more when we're already at a deficit. Our brain is already at a deficit. So now we're in a time of our cycle where this deficit it's even lower. So now it really is worse. Like it gets a lot harder. And then what about women when they're going through perimenopause or menopause? And it's like, I think there's like a 65% drop in estrogen. So like,
yep.
do you know how much that affects that affects your dopamine and it's just like plummeting. And now you're just like, that's why a lot of the ways that you were able for women who never knew that they had ADHD, the ways that they were able to manage it themselves stop working because it becomes so much harder because now they have even less dopamine and they need even more dopamine, and it's like that's why they are constantly feeling like they're like a woman in their 50s who has undiagnosed ADHD truly feels like she's losing her mind and doesn't know why, which is more extreme than women who don't have ADHD who are going through these changes in life. They still feel there's a lot of things that they're going through, but they don't legitimately feel like they are losing their mind, even though they might say that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm wondering
Does that make
too.
sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, would and obviously everyone there's the bio individuality of everyone. Even if you're not in menopause though, we know estrogen for women's cycles rises
And
and then it hits
lower.
that luteal phase, right? And
Yes.
then dips. So
And
I'm
then
assuming
dips.
for a normal woman on a 28-day cycle, we would expect, I'm just telling the guys out there, you would probably expect a lower dip than in the second half of the cycle, maybe. So it might get worse.
100%.
So
Thank you
be
for saying
aware.
that.
Be
Yeah,
aware.
be aware. Put
Be
it
aware.
on your calendar.
Yeah.
Do not upset any no, like and women should put it on their calendar, not when they're like heading into PMS mode, but it would be really a great idea to mark down the days when you should definitely not be making any major decisions. And
Yeah.
those would be the days that are like 5 or 6, like the PMS days, but 5 or 6 days before you get your period, like those are the low, like you are at your lowest dopamine levels. And if you have ADHD, that's a dangerous place to be. so, so no decisions.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Oh, you know what?
Mhm.
Also, because dopamine's lowering, do you notice then that women are trying to make up for that lost dopamine? And because of that, because they're used to this baseline, and I'm only thinking about this because I think about like when they talk about cell phones and dopamine, and
Mm,
we're in such a dopamine abundance right now that we need even more dopamine to get our normal
yeah.
hit. So I was thinking the same thing. If they're lowering their levels, do you see them then, I don't know, binging towards the end of the month, or do certain activities like that where they're on their doom scrolling more? I don't know. Like, what have you seen? Yeah, you're nodding. So yeah, what
Those days when you're in your lower dopamine phase, you will tend to, I don't want to be like, so like, yes, this is what's going to happen, because I don't like it when people talk like that, because there's always exceptions.
sure.
So in general, you will notice that you are um participating in behaviors that are not great for you, that you know aren't great for you. You'll be binge watching more, you'll be doom scrolling more, like what you said. You'll also be arguing more. You'll be creating more drama. You'll be overreacting more. And you'll be that's, I think that's one of the biggest ones. And
Yeah.
that's like true for everyone. That's why there's like jokes about, oh well, obviously women who are PMSing are constantly overreacting. But take a woman who has ADHD and has a very hard time regulating her emotions all the time. And then in that during those days, it becomes so severe, which is, there's a statistic, I think it's like 3 times the amount of PMDD, that's like the super, super severe PMS. It's like 3
Yeah.
times more prevalent for women who have ADHD. And that's why. That's why, because it's almost impossible for us to regulate our emotions and our behaviors, because we have ADHD. And now you're bringing in a lower dopamine phase, and it's just like, it's forget about it. So you have to
Yeah.
do things that, first of all, you have to know that this is going on, and you have to be prepared. And I feel like being prepared makes such a huge, beautiful difference to so many people, because now you know what's going on. You're not just the victim of your own behaviors and reactions and emotions. You're like, oh my God, this is my brain. And if you can separate yourself from your brain, which is, who knows if that's even right
Yeah.
or not,
Yeah.
but this is my brain. This is not me. This is what I need to do. Like, I need to go for a walk right now. I need to listen to this music right now. I need to take myself out of this headspace and put myself into another headspace right now. And to also, again, like I was saying before, know not to make any major decisions during that time, because it's almost, people regret it. Usually the big decisions during those days, like, just don't do it. Put it on your calendar
Yeah.
in block letters.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. I love that you said that. And I think even for guys that are listening, right? If you're just supporting your spouse, I know for us, it's important to have a language to be able to communicate. Because if you don't even have that, then you just immediately go to what you know, which is, oh, she's just being this way and that's just her cycle. But like, if you can actually have a conversation or like, hey, this is what's going on. Oh, it makes sense. And then it's like, well, this is how I can intervene and help.
Yeah,
And then everyone's working together instead of like you're actually fighting, which is nice.
totally. And it's really hard. I mean, it really is hard. We always invite spouses to join in on sessions, because I think it's awesome to
Yeah.
have somebody in your home actually know what's going on for you. And I know how hard, just because I've been doing this for a really long time, I know how hard it is for, if you're a man and you're married to a woman who has ADHD and dealing with these, major hormonal shifts. It is really freaking hard to be nice. It is, because she's attacking you
Yeah.
a lot of the time. And like, that's the last thing you want, because look at everything that you've done for her, and that you do all the time. And it's just like, you're this giving, let's just say you're this giving man, and you're always there, and you're trying to help, and you're doing your very best. And then this woman who you love is lashing out at you, and everything is your fault, and you can never do anything right. And how the heck are you supposed to be understanding and empathetic
Yeah.
to that woman? Right. So It's not easy, but that's why I think it's really good to not take it to put a reminder in, because we're all, whether you're a male or female, it doesn't matter and where you fall on the gender spectrum, we all need visual reminders.
Yeah.
We all
Yeah.
need visual reminders. If you say, like, don't take it personally during that time period, right? Like, just love, don't take it personally. It's a game changer. Something
Yeah.
so small and simple. And just to be there when she's freaking out on you and like telling you how everything is you and your fault and you suck, you could just say, like, this must be really hard for you.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm here. And just, I'm going to go watch something. You're still allowed to leave, but
Yeah.
just, not to get into it, because that's when the real problems happen, is when
Yeah.
people fight back, and now you're fighting with somebody who's completely irrational in the
Right.
moment.
And now you're both offline, right? There is
Forget
no
it.
prefrontal cortex activity going on at all. Everyone's in their
Yeah.
animal
Y
brains, right?
yeah. But I get it. It's hard. It's really hard. It's not like, "Oh, yeah, just, like, go be understanding. These are the words you should say to your wife." Like, she's like, it's hard.
Yeah.
But know
Yeah.
that it's hard, and still, make sure that she knows that you're there and that you can talk about it, not during those days, that when she unleashes on you, if that's the case, if she's that type of person, you can tell her what you're going to do, so she knows. She's not like, "What are you doing? Why are you walking away?" You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I love that. Talk about gamifying, because I know you talk about sometimes, women or men, doesn't matter, anybody with ADHD, they find that a lot of their tasks are boring or they're not, rewarding. So how is gamification? How have you used that to help rewire the brain?
It's just really, it's an added stimulant. Right? If you think about everything that's out there to help people who have ADHD, a lot of it is stimulant based, right? The medications, the big medications are all stimulants.
Like what is it? Adderall,
Yeah.
right? It's like a
Adderall,
it's
Concerta,
like
Ritalin,
yeah.
whatever, like all of the big ones out there. And they're stimulant meds. And there's a reason why it works, because if you add if it basically allows more dopamine to enter your brain, and now you feel a little bit more focused, which is fine. But I always say the medication helps get you focused, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help you focus on the right things. So
So good. Yeah.
that's why,
I
I
love
mean,
that.
that's why we need tools. Like,
Yeah.
how many people do you know who are on ADHD medication who are like very, very, no problem focusing on their social media feed for like 6 hours straight? They get nothing done, but they're focused because it just does that. But
Mm.
but it doesn't tell you what to focus on, right? And that's everything. Okay, so wait, what was the question that you
Oh, I
just
was
about?
asking how you use
Oh yeah,
gamification.
so
Yeah.
gamification is basically like a created stimulant.
Yeah.
So let's add some fun to it. I mean, you get like a lot of people like to put points, like create a point system. So, I'm going to get 5 points for this and 3 points for that and 2 points if I do this. And then like when I get to like 100 points, I get to do X, Y, or Z, or I get to buy myself this, or I get to do that. Um, we're like really big into physical state changes, which is like a whole aspect that I put in the book to give people some examples, but just changing your physical state, and then, in the middle of things, to kind of wake up your brain.
Yeah.
So you're not getting sidetracked, because you could be working on something and then find yourself on a different website,
Yeah.
for the next 2 hours. So when you force yourself into like state changes, putting on your shoe, I know this sounds so way too simple, but putting your sneakers on if you go to the gym, like your workout shoes, and actually standing up and doing stuff like while you're moving, that's a stimulant that's really effective. But then you can throw dice into the game and just like tell yourself what you're going to do for your state change,
Mm.
right? And am I going to do this state change, or am I going to do that state change, or am I going to do the other one, right? Because there's like a whole list. I mean, there's so many you can come up with just to change your physical state. Um, and competitions between friends, like you're trying to get something done, and it's really flippin' boring. And then, just like creating a comp, like how much can you do in the next 2 hours, and you do that with somebody else who's either working with you, or somebody who's working with you would usually work, or just like somebody who's working on something different, but just to stay focused for that time, if there's a bit of a competition in play, you'll keep on it
Yeah.
you'll keep on it longer.
It makes so much sense now too. I mean, right when you said it, you're like, yeah, because you want the hit, you want the dopamine, and that's what the game's doing. So right when you said it, I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, duh.
I was
Yeah.
constantly setting timers for myself when I was writing this book. It's like, can I get through 30 pages in 1 hour? And I would set like a like I would set my timer on my phone and I would keep like whatever and I would write it down. It's like I would write down the times and how long it took me to get through, how many pages I would get through and what I can do in 30 minutes versus, how long it took me to get through 50 pages. And I would just constantly be trying to beat my time, which is why there's so many mistakes in the book. No, I'm joking. There aren't. I was just like rushing. No, but I was like making it a competition for myself.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what can
Yeah.
I like how much can I do? How many pages, like in 10 pages, can I do this in 5 minutes or less? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I'm looking at the time. We have to wrap things up in a little bit, but I was just thinking too. A lot of the stuff we talked about is through habits and brain chemistry, which I love. But I was just thinking too. In your coaching, do you also is there an aspect of also working on I don't know nutrition, or are there other things that people need to be thinking about too as well? Whether it's exercising. I mean, all of these things can create dopamine and other things too. So yeah, do you look at that aspect as well
All
when
of
you're
it.
work?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, Joel. I call that the basics. I feel like in the first 2 to 3 months of any client's journey with us, they have to, because I manage all of the clients and all of our coaches. And this is like a big, big piece for me because they must all, because every month I get reports and checks and like I'm constantly making sure that every client is kicking butt.
Yeah.
They have to. Every client that comes into my program has to kick butt. And so the basics is exactly what you're saying. Sleeping, eating, like their nutrition, their exercise, what are they doing and how are they moving forward? Right? And so there has to be shifts. And so a lot of people come in with great habits and most people don't.
I would imagine, yeah. And
Yeah.
I would imagine a lot of that's, again, we're talking about all the behavioral stuff, but it's like, and I think you and I are already on the same page. To me, that's already a given. Like, yeah, I'm already doing all that. Like, I got that dialed in. But
Yeah.
the average person actually doesn't, and
They
that could be
don't.
contributing
It's
to a lot of their
terrible.
issues too,
Oh my
right?
gosh, they're
Yeah,
literally like snacking on Twinkies. Adults,
yeah,
like grown.
yeah,
I know that might sound silly if I'm saying it because like there's might be somebody like who eats Twinkies and they're like, "What's wrong with Twinkies?" But
yeah,
like, I can't believe the stuff that people put in their body that affects their brain in the worst possible way.
yeah.
And they're taking these medications and it's true for people who have depression also, by the way, and anxiety, because they're eating these foods that are just so bad for their mood. And so people with ADHD have a very hard time managing their mood in general. And now they're eating, processed sugar, everything, because it's quick and easy. And it is quick and easy. So like you need the calories. What are you going to do? You can't like
Yep.
start cooking a meal if you have no time. So it's part of the whole, it's like a cycle, right? So part of it is teaching people what foods to always have on hand and how to plan in advance so that you're giving your body and most importantly for me giving your brain the nutrition and the food that you need to be eating. Sleep is huge. I always say like, okay, so Joel, you don't have ADHD, right? But I want you to tell me uh, four things, like four ways that having no sleep affects you. What does it do to you?
Well, I'm angry. I'm irritable.
Irritable,
Low energy.
low energy,
Um, just I would say not productive because I'm just going through the motions. So, and then brain fog, and definitely not making good decisions.
right? Good. That's it, right? So a lot of, except for the low energy part, a lot of sleep deprivation for every human. It's almost like those symptoms of sleep deprivation mirror ADHD.
Hmm. Yeah.
We become impatient, we become impulsive, we become restless, we become irritable. We're like constantly like, you're just like thinking like not not necessarily the best thoughts. And it's just you're certainly not productive. And so like imagine a person who has ADHD who's now sleep deprived. And so it's like it's
Pouring gasoline on the fire. Yeah.
right? So it's like whatever you just mentioned that you experience, like multiply that by 50. And so
Yeah.
it's really important, but it's hard. It's naturally hard for people who have ADHD to have healthy sleep habits when they're taking stimulant medication. That's like a whole thing. So
Yeah.
we have to coach people. We help, you have to take your stimulant medication very early in the day. If you take it at noon, you're basically
For
forget
sure.
about it. Forget about it. Like you're done.
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, like eliminating sugar is a big one, getting the right amount of sleep and making sure you're moving your body. Whatever that means to you. We're not like putting people on a fitness program, although a lot of people, do that anyway,
Yeah.
but making sure you're moving your body, not just like stagnant,
Yeah.
which is easy these days when you're working at a computer,
Yep. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, I know we got to wrap things up. This was really, really good. I want to, give a shout out and let people know how they can learn more about you, connect with you. But here's the problem, guys. Shauna's not on social media. So, Shauna, why are you not on social media?
Um, Honestly, I know. Can you imagine? How can somebody be running a successful business who's not on social media? Um, I hate social media. And when I was on it, it just made me feel really drained. And I just noticed that about like I would be on social media just like for 45 minutes. And when I went off it, I felt crappy. Um that's the number one reason I'm not personally on it. The number two reason is that it's super distracting. And so I have to because I have very severe whatever you want to like however you label these things on the highest level ADHD. So it's like if you have a drinking problem, you don't want to be sitting in a bar.
Good advice. Yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with social media because it's very hard for me to stay focused. And it's very distracting social media. So I'm not on it. I don't have anything to do with it. My business isn't on it, although it might be soon. I don't know. Somebody else might be in charge of that, but that's why I'm not on it. So you'd have to find me on my website, which is expertadhdcoaching.com. And the book website will be invisibleadhd.com. And if you want to pre-order the book, it has a ton of our coaching tools in it. I just put a lot of things like directly in it right out of my coach's manual. So we're not holding anything back. And you can pre-order the book if you want to on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or I guess wherever books are
Everywhere.
sold. I don't know. I just like, but definitely Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Shanna Pearson, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate you and all the work that you're doing.
Thanks,
It's
Joel.
very valuable. So thank you.
Thank you. It was great to be here. Good to meet you.